Hey everyone, it's Jeannie from A1 Vacuum and Sewing, and I am going to be making the Santa Cinch sack. If you got your kit from our store, you're going to get a kit that looks like this, and it is going to have everything for the pet pouches and the Santa Cinch sack, and your kit has been kitted to have enough for you to make one of these and one of those. So it's kind of nice. You'll be able to do everything. Other things that you're going to need, your embroidery machine with the foot attached. You're going to need some needles. My favorite are going to be the 7511 anti-glue needles, or else the 8012 Microtex needles. Those are always my go-to. You need a safety pin because we're going to be threading the ribbon through your design on a USB. I always like a printed out copy of my directions, a small ruler, your 5x7 hoop. You're gonna need some Best Press, some spray adhesive. I'm a spray adhesive girl. You can use tape if you want. An array of scissors. This is kind of what I have at this point. I was using the storage thing for all my scissors and everything, and at this point this is what I like. Some fray check, your cutting scissors. You're gonna need a seam ripper, hot ruler. Hot ruler's just a recommendation. You don't have to have it. Your embroidery thread, red, black, and white, and you want matching pre-wound bobbins. White, black, and red pre-wound bobbins with machine embroidery bobbin thread. I just have those in here. I tossed them in here this morning. So just have matching pre-wound bobbins. So here's my red, white, and here's a black one in here too. You are going to be, and a point turner. So you're going to need a point turner. I have a couple different point turners. I really like this one, and I really like this one. So these are my two favorite point turners. This is Clover, and this one's from OESD. Did we talk about fray check? I think so. Ironing mat. So here's my favorite iron in the world right here, and my ironing mat, my new favorite ironing mat. I was using a 17 by 17, and now I have a 17 by 24. That is perfect for me to have right next to my sewing machine. You're going to need a sewing foot. I'll use my digital dual feed, and a water soluble pen, or you could use like a friction pen if you want, but I'll use that pen right there. And that's going to be it. I think I already mentioned a little quilting ruler. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to need some glitter. I just pulled that out of my little stash. So first thing that we're going to do, let's go ahead and get the fabric out. You know what? Let me get it out of here. It's always nice to get the kit, right? So you don't have to put anything together. You can just pull it all out. So you're going to get 2 pieces of white fabric, and go ahead and turn on your iron. Remove those and my ribbon. Okay, so it says here, fold fabric front and back fabrics in half widthwise, wrong sides together, and press well. So we are going to put them together. Hamburger, not hot dog. This is hot dog, this is hamburger. So fold it over. You might want to use a press cloth just in case you have a dirty iron. That is the worst. Is that not the worst, when you go to iron your fabric and there's something on your iron and then you're ironing pretty white fabric? So I'm the type to have a dirty iron. I'm also the type to cut into my goddess pressing sheet. I love the goddess pressing sheet. The thing I love about it is It provides protection, but it's not really thick and bulky, because I have another protection applique pressing sheet. It's there's like a white one, and that one is thick. What I'm realizing is, oh, look it, I'm spreading dirty stuff on here. Okay, after you do that, it wants you to unfold fabric front. Doesn't really matter which one you call your fabric front. And place right side down iron fusible backing to half of the front fabric. So we're going to unfold fabric front and place right side down. I'll just open this up, right side down. And then we're going to put, you should have a piece of fusible backing in your kit. We, in our store, just use Shapeflex 101 and just put that fusible down, and that is going to be the side that's bumpy, because that is going to have the fusible stuff on it. So fusible backing. Steam always makes, you know what, I'm going to turn off my steam though, because I am on my my cutting mat underneath here, and if you use a lot of steam, it will warp the mat underneath. So just make sure that's adhered well. Then we're going to hoop your light mesh cutaway. Light mesh cutaway, some people call it poly mesh, some people call it no-show mesh, but we're going to go ahead and hoop that next. Get your 5x7 hoop. Okay, so hoop that up. I like to pull inward to get all of the bubbles out. Don't pull up, pull in. If you pull up, then it just pops your hoop out. And load the desired embroidery file. So I already have a white pre-wound bobbin in my machine. Let's go ahead and, did you see how fast I did that? My sewing room is, I would call it semi out of control at this point. I am still cleaning up from the quilt show that we did a month ago. Okay. I have a white bobbin in there right now. I'm going to pop my USB in. We just got back from vacation, which I make a mess before I go on vacation because I always bring stuff with me. I don't know about you, but things get wild. All right, so we are going to load our design. And I'm doing this one, Santa Mail. Let's go ahead and set it. And we're going to hit embroidery. I always like to choose my hoop size that I'm using. I'm using 5x7. What is that? And let me go ahead and slide my hoop on. Slide it onto the machine. And it says stitch the cut line. Color does not make a difference. So let's pull out the color that does. Color does not make a difference. The color that is going to make a difference first is going to be black. So I'm just going to put black in there. And anytime you see the little box with the diagonal lines through it, that means color does not make a difference. So usually I will look through the instructions until the first color that does make a difference comes up. Okay, stitch the cut line. You're going to cut a cut along the line as shown in red. And extend 1/2 inch on each side as shown. I usually do this with my rotary cutter. So you're going to slide this off. Oop. Not sure why that wasn't focused. It's saying to use a pair of scissors, but like I said, normally I'll just use a rotary cutter. If you want to use a, and it says 1/2 inch beyond. So extend the line 1/2 inch on each end as shown in. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this with my rotary cutter. My rotary cutter will not let me get all the way to that edge. I'm just going to go ahead. I am going to have to use a little pair of scissors just to extend that. Okay, that should be 1/2 inch. And then the next step in the instructions say, stitch the front placement line. So we're going to put this back on the machine. And now it's going to do the front placement line. Again, I'm going to slide this off just because we're going to be doing some turning and taping. Okay, so now it wants you to place the front fabric. That's the one that you put the fusible on. So here's your front fabric. You've got a side that has fusible. And it wants you to place it on top of the stabilizer right side down. And then it wants you to align fold in fabric with cut line. Excess fabric will hang off top of hoop. Okay, so it just wants you to align that. So we're going to put this here. And the excess is going to hang off the top of the hoop. Just like that. And it wants you to tape it down. I'm a huge fan of transport tape because it is sticky, easy to rip. This is what we use in the store. Whoop. And you can use it over and over too because it is that good. So it just wants you to tape it down. And excess is going to hang over the top. And then it says stitch the front tack down line. The top edge will be basting stitches that will be removed. So you're going to remove those basting stitches. You know, I'm not totally lined up. And I can tell because right down here it doesn't look totally lined up. And just move it the tiniest bit. I'm just looking right down here to make sure that's parallel. Is that parallel? There we go. That looks parallel. All right, let's go to the machine. I'm going to slide this on, let it do its basting stitch. This basting stitch is coming out, so don't worry about it. And then it wants you to change your bobbin thread to match, which means we're going to put black thread in next. So get your black bobbin. We are basted down. Oh, the top edge is the basting. The bottom part isn't, but the top edge is. All right, let me go ahead and change out the bobbin. It says change your bobbin thread to match the top. So I'll put this one in. Oop, what's going on here? And we are stitching out the reindeer and the Santa. Sorry about that. My sewing room is the main thoroughfare in the house. So you should have a little black piece of leather. Looks like this. So go ahead and grab that. You're going to applique that down. I would also grab your scissors that are going to be curved and straight, because those are the ones we're going to use to trim. right, go ahead and just hit start, and you are going to do the sleigh placement line. You can go ahead and give this a little shot of spray, or if you're going to use tape, you can use tape. I have a spray tint that I use. This is a dime product, and this is where I spray in. It looks just like this, and I put a little piece of cardboard down on the bottom. That way I can change it out periodically when it gets too icky. People always ask me what spray I use as well, and let's see. I'll go ahead and cover the whole thing. I use this KK Ganold 100. It's my favorite. It's the best. So after you tack this down, we're going to trim as desired. You could probably, if I place that up a little bit higher, you probably get 2 sleighs out of this. If you don't want to bother with that, then don't worry about it. Go ahead and trim as desired. And to me, when I hear trim as desired, that means I leave about 1/8 of an inch around the whole thing. I like, if there's a lot of cutting, I slide it out of the hoop. Or not out of the hoop, but I slide it off the machine. Don't slide it out of the hoop. You need to be in the hoop. Get that little outie, and then we'll have a little innie. How gorgeous is that? Get that little, my goodness, if you can see that, it's so cute. Okay, slide that back on. You can make these little pouches. They could be special little gift bags for that special present. And then you can use them over and over again. What if you blew this up? And then in my house, we use reusable gift bags. We have for years. I am going to go ahead. It says to put in a matching bobbin, so I'm going to put my red bobbin in now. I just can't even tell you how much, number one, how much wrapping paper I've saved, because I use reusable gift bags. And, well, you know, when the kids were little, we did Santa gifts. Santa gifts were wrapped. And this is all new for me, too, because I grew up with parents. My parents are Korean, and they didn't celebrate Christmas. We kind of did. You know, we did, like, when growing up, there'd be, like, some presents and stuff like that. But it wasn't the big, like, oh, Santa gifts and stuff had to be hid and that kind of thing. Make sure you fluff your fabric, too, so you don't have, it's not folded under. So when Patrick and I got married and we had kids, that's when I learned all about, like, you know, his mom used to hide his Christmas presents in the back of in the trunk of the car. And, you know, back then, remember how big cars were and how big the trunks were? So she would just drive around with the presents in the trunk of the car. And so I learned that we had to have presents that were from Santa and then presents from us. Anyways, now that all the presents are from us, so go ahead and put your red in the bobbin, red in the top. And it makes wrapping so easy too, because you just throw the present in the bag, pull the string, tie it, and you are done. Okay, so this is going to take you, this is 8 minutes of stitching. So depending on your machine, you could blow this pattern up. On mine, I can double it in size, so I can make it almost 10 inches by 14 inches. So you can make this really big if you wanted. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and stitch this. And it did say change bobbin thread to a neutral color. I just put in the red to match the red. And then after we do this, I'm going to take the red bobbin out. I'm going to put the black back in. I'm just going to keep switching those bobbins. After we stitch this, we're going to put our blacks back in, and we'll stitch out the mail service postmark. All right, I'm going to go ahead and switch top and bottom out to black. Anytime you're worried about pin dotting, it's always nice to just match your bobbin to your upper thread. And there's something about black and red that just, it's so high contrast to white. Fluff that back fabric too, just make sure it doesn't get curled down and around. This is 2 minutes of stitching, and then we'll do a little bit more of the red stitching where you stitch out the North Pole detail. can hear that when it's not in. So we want to go back a couple of stitches with stitching up on the top. So in case you don't know how to do that, I'm just going to hit this button right here. You can go forward and backwards, whole colors, and then individual stitches. I'm going to go back 10. And I'm just going to keep hitting my -1 until it bounces up to the top. There we go. And then I'll hit +1. That'll get me right where I want to be. When you're doing little stitching like this, you can also switch over to a 60 weight thread, which I keep on the top of my machine. We carry fine line at the store. We're going to be cutting some jump threads too, so you want to make sure you have your perfect, I forget what they're called. We carry these in the store. These are OESD product, and they're so great for cutting these jump threads. You can take the little hook side and then snip, and then turn the other direction and snip. Sometimes you have to get it a couple of times just to get that very bottom thread. That made a big old mess, didn't it? Oh, I left my door open for Momo, and there is fly in here. And I won't bore you with this. I usually will do this afterwards, but you definitely want to get all of those jump threads. Okay, next step is going to be some of the red again, so I'm going to switch out my bobbin and my red thread. And if I wanted, I could put in red 60 weight, but the stitches aren't too tiny, so I'm just going to leave it. We are almost done with our stitching on the machine. There is going to be a little bit of sewing done. Okay, it wants you to do the top ribbon holes, so just go ahead and hit start again. You should already have your red thread in. All right, now we're going to remove the hoop from the machine. So let's come on over here. I'm going to take the hoop from the machine. We're going to use a seam ripper, and we're going to carefully, right here, we're going to carefully cut open the center of each ribbon hole, cutting through both fabric and stabilizer. Optional, put a drop of fray stop product on cuts to prevent fraying. I'll do that later. But let me get my seam ripper. You're going to go through the fabric and through the stabilizer. So just do this, push up until you get to the top. I think I'm to the top, so I'm going to leave it. Same thing over here, down in the bottom, push up. Make sure you do not go through the very top of that. Kind of cut from the side. There you go. Okay, so we should be good. And now it says remove top edge basting stitch from part 1. So we're going to take out this basting stitch just right there. You're not going to take out the stitch that goes all the way around, just the basting stitch. A lot of times I'll use the back side of my seam ripper. Just kind of pull them out. And also just cut that. Cut the other thread. Go ahead and grab that out. All right, got the basting stitch. Slide top edge of front fabric through the cut line in stabilizer. So we're going to take this, slide it through the top edge right here where we cut that. I'm going to take this. You're going to cut this actually right to the edge, it looks like, so it won't buckle that fabric. Okay. So we're through. Slide top edge of fabric through the cut line, turn hoop to the back, pull fabric down until fold is aligned with the cut line, and tape all corners in place. So we're going to take this down like this, and we want to tape all our corners in place. So again, I'm going to use my transport. Want this corner here in place, and this corner here. And then it says turn hoop to the front and place tape over the entire cut in the stabilizer. Return hoop to the machine. So what we don't want is we don't want the foot getting stuck under there. I need one more piece right here on the very end. So you're taping over the whole thing and stitch the front tack down line. So now it's going to do a tack down line. It says color doesn't make a difference. We could go ahead and just leave the red that's in there. I'm going to slide my hoop back onto the machine. And this is the front tack down. Then it wants you to stitch the ribbon casing. It wants you to do it in white. So I'm going to put white in my bobbin and my upper. The white in the top too. I have my spool of never-ending white thread that I've been trying to use up. But again, it's never ending, so it just keeps lasting. And it wants you to stitch the ribbon casing. So here we go. This is going to be the ribbon casing. And after you do this, you're going to remove the tape from the front and the back of the hoop. Okay, so let's remove your tape from the front and the back. There's my tape from the front. Here's my tape from the back. And then it says, unfold and place back fabric right side down, completely covering the design, aligning the fold with the cut, and the stabilizer excess fabric will hang off top of the hoop. The hoop is our sample. The hoop in our sample attaches on the front. Not sure what that last part meant, but let's go ahead and we're going to take our hoop right here. Everything's been stitched down on the back. And now you're going to take your back fabric. So remember we had two of these. This, and there's a fold in it. When we unfold it, this should be your right side. This is going to be your wrong side. So it wants you to take it and put it right side down. Wrong side of the fabric is facing up. And you're going to align this crease with the crease on the very top here. So I'm aligning that. And then I'll unfold it. And then it wants you to tape it down on the sides. So your fold should be right here, wrong side of the fabric facing up. I'm going to grab my pieces of tape that I used before because they're still sticky. And I'm just going to tape it down here and tape it down here. And it says, stitch the back tack down line. The hoop in our sample attaches on the right. The hoop in our sample. Oh, okay, wait a minute. Unfold and place back fabric right side down. This is the front. I just want to make sure I'm putting it on the right spot. Or are we on the back of our hoop? Let me just read that one more time. Unfold and place back fabric right side down, completely covering the design. So I think we should be on the front. Aligning the fold with the cut in the stabilizer, excess fabric will hang off the top of the hoop. Stitch the back tack down line. Okay, I'm pretty sure we have this right. So I'm going to go ahead, lay it down like this. We're going to stitch this, fold it through, and then it'll go to the back. Let me grab this, pop it on. Make sure that fabric is not through there yet and isn't folded back, so it should lay to the top just like that. I have my white thread in. I'm just going to go ahead and stitch. So theirs is a little confusing because the hoop, they have that hoop. It shows it here on the right side, so it makes it look like maybe we have it backwards. So we just did step number 27, which was to stitch the back tack down line. Now we're going to remove it from the hoop. We're going to slide top edge of back fabric through the cut line in the stabilizer. Just like that. Okay. Okay, so we slid it through here. Now we're going to turn it over. We're going to pull it down. And you're going to go ahead and tape it open. Tape it on the corners. When it stitches, there's going to be an opening right here. And that's how we're going to turn it right side out. So we just went ahead and, let me make sure I have this right. I just put it through here. We put it through the back, turn to the back, fold fabric down until fold is aligned with the cut line. And bottom edge is a 1/4 inch past the bottom tack down line. So here's your tack down, 1/4 inch past. And we're going to go, fabric should be completely smooth on the front and back of the hoop, tape in place, and return to the machine. So we're going to go ahead and bring it down. I'm still using my other pieces of transport that I used before. Put a piece there, piece there. Put a piece here and a piece here. Okay, we're going to return hoop to the machine. It says, now we're on page 8 of our directions. Stitch the final seam. This will leave an opening for turning it, which you definitely want. That would be scary if there was no way to turn it right side out. So this is going to stitch the final seam. We'll make sure that it doesn't scoop underneath. the foot, that the foot doesn't scoop underneath the fabric, so you have to watch that. Nice, everything should be nice and smooth and gorgeous. There we go. All right, we're gonna finish everything up over here. So we want to go ahead and remove project. We're going to take off all our tape. That's actually probably all going to get cut off anyways. And we're going to trim around the sack, 1/2 inch seam allowance. Do not trim this very top part here. So I'm just going to grab my rotary cutter and let me grab this. And I'm going to go 1/4 inch from my stitch line. And you can use scissors too if you want. But again, don't cut that very top. That would be the worst, huh? That's always the worst. Okay, and then the bottom part, I usually cut this, where are my favorite scissors? Here's where we're going to be turning it. So a lot of times I'll cut that. Okay. And then they want you to trim into your corners. Don't accidentally catch that stitch. That would be the worst. All right. Okay, and now it wants you to, so we just trimmed this corner. We trimmed it just like this. Turn the bag right side out through the opening to expose the inside of the pouch. And then it wants you to use a needle and thread and stitch the opening closed. I am not going to do that. I usually just do it on the sewing machine. This is where we need our point turner. Don't worry, we're going to be turning it one more time, but you do have to poke your corners here. Gently. Make sure you do it gently. And you want to poke out this corner right here. So with these bags where there's a double turn, you always want to poke out your corners for that first turn, and then you poke it out for the next turn. Okay, raw edges for a finished look. So fold edges in. But like I said, I never hand sew this. I need to take this to the sewing machine right now. I'm going to go ahead and convert it over, and I will sew this right on the edge with the sewing machine. So let's go over in the sewing machine. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and convert this. think I left my walking foot at the store. I used it for one of the classes. Normally I'd be using my walking foot. All right, so let's go in here. Let's go to sewing. And I'll just leave it at the settings it's at. Everything is folded under. And like I said, I'm going to do about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. So right along the very, very edge. Or, I mean, that literally is right at the edge. Or you could whip stitch it with your just a hand needle and thread. Okay, now we're going to turn their bag right side out. And we're going to poke corners. So we've got one more turn right here. There's the adorable embroidery that we did. We're going to turn these corners. All right. Now you have an option here, making the optional back casing and threading the ribbon. I think it's a good idea, so I'm going to do it. So what we're going to do, part 2, directions, steps 1 through 3 are not necessary for completing these cinch sacks. Each will cinch without the optional back casing. The following step show how to sew an optional casing using your sewing machine. If you decide to add the optional back casing, make sure to do it before threading the drawstring. I think it looks better, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. Turn the sack to the back and using a water-soluble pen, mark from the top of one ribbon opening across the side seam so it is visible on the back side of the sack, and create another line from the bottom of the ribbon opening to the back of sack. Repeat with the second ribbon opening. So you're going to draw 2 lines that look just like that. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to actually use a friction pen. I'm going to use this one. And it wants it, so the casing right now is, where's mine? That is a little bit more than 1/8 of an inch, but less than 1/4 of an inch. So I'm just going to go ahead, eyeball it right about there. And then it wants you to do another line. And if you want, you could kind of do this, where you just turn it to this side and you can see where those lines are. Like that. Okay. Now I'm going to go just like that. Okay. Place the opening of your cinch sack around the arm of your sewing machine and you're going to stitch a straight line across. So they want you to use your free arm. So I'm going to have to slide off my embroidery arm. So just give me a minute for that and I'll be right back. Honestly, I can't even remember the last time I used my free arm, and mine's not even going to fit. My free arm is not big enough. So I'm just going to go ahead and just carefully sew here. Just make sure it doesn't get stitched down. But we are going to create that casing just because it looks better. So you are just going to gently do this and just feel for the underside to make sure it's not getting stitched down. The edge one isn't going to be too bad. It's going to be a little bit more difficult with the stitching that is. And if you have a smaller machine with a smaller free arm, that's probably what you're going to want to use. I'm going to back stitch a little bit. Okay, now we're going to do the other one. This is going to be a little more difficult just because it's a little further in. And do a little back stitch right there. Okay, take your time. Just make sure the back is not getting stitched down. I'm going to heat up my iron so I can press out that mark from the friction pen. It's not perfect, but it's going to be okay. A little awkward when you don't have that free arm, right? And let's go ahead and add the ribbon. I just want to press this up though. Okay, so you have your casing in the front, your casing in the back. Let's grab our ribbon. You have 2 sets of ribbon. I'm going to use this one right here. So it says pin 2 pieces of ribbon together with a safety pin and thread both through the front casing of the sack. So I'm going to go ahead and do it like this. And let me grab my safety pin. And we're going to go through the front casing. You do have to, okay, here, we're through. Remove the safety pin. Pull one ribbon end from each side of the sack. This will create a long end and a short end on each side. I'll pull this one this way and this one this way. And then it says, turn sack over so the back is facing you. Attach the safety pin to the long part of the ribbon. Here's my long part of the ribbon. Insert ribbon through the small opening in the seam. Here we go. Easing the safety pin through the back of the sack and pulling the ribbon to the other side. To ease the ribbon through the casing, insert small stick and push against safety pin. So now we need something. I'm going to use my, because it is kind of hard to find it. Because it'll get caught. Let's go this end in. Gonna go like this. Small stick. What you have to do is not get caught in there. not get caught in there. You need to go under that. There we go. It's, you know what? It's just a little bit of a struggle sometimes. Okay. And then you're going to thread the second ribbon through. So I'm going to pull that. We're going to go this one. Tie the ends in a knot on each side of the sack. All right. I'm going to grab this and this. Grab this one and this one. That is done. And this one. And this one. Oh shoot, I was doing all of that not underneath the camera. Sorry. I was so into it. I think this part, quite honestly, is the hardest part of the cinch sack. And there we go. There is your little cinch sack. And look how adorable it is. Thanks for joining me.